Just when you thought the 5 tips in my last video was all you needed, I'm about to hit you with 5 more. Tip number 1. How many hours of school constitutes for 1 credit or zero point 0.5 credits? Hours of learning must be prioritized. You cannot spend your child's school hours attending every event that your homeschool group is a part of. According to the HSLDA website, 150 hours qualifies as 1 high school credit in the subjects I mentioned in my last video. But typically, 1 credit for 1 year of coursework and 0.5 credits for a semester of work. This rule applies to 45 states. The only U.S. states with exceptions are California, Nebraska, New Jersey, Indiana, and Idaho. But all of this information is on the HSLDA's website. Depending on the state you reside in, the hours can range between 120 to 150 to complete that 1 credit. I discussed the total credit hour requirements in my last video. Your child does not need to complete every single question in a textbook. For example, if they complete 70 to 85% of the textbook, that constitutes as a full credit. If they only complete 35 to 45% of a full year's coursework, that constitutes as 0.5 credit. For the sciences, your child must complete at least 8 labs to obtain the full credit. I'll provide the contact information for the HSLDA at the end. Tip number 2. What is the required college and career readiness assessment test in your state? Each state require a different assessment test for graduation. Some require the SAT and some the ACT. The state that I reside in requires the ACT for their graduating high schoolers. However, as homeschoolers, this assessment test is only necessary if the college that your child hopes to attend requires it. If your homeschooled high schooler does not desire to attend a college or university, then the assessment requirement does not apply to them according to this state's law. The university my son will be attending to complete his business degree, they require the SAT. However, I suggested that he took both the SAT for that university and the ACT that this state requires in case he changed his mind about the college he wanted to attend. He took both tests at the end of his 11th grade year and passed both of them. But be mindful, if you have a child following the academic track of study, they can start taking the ACT or the SAT as early as 8th grade. But be aware that many of the concepts on the ACT and SAT won't be taught until high school. So if you take the chance of your 8th grader taking that test, they may not do so well. It might be best to just wait until they reach high school. But that's your choice as a homeschooling parent. But hey, if you have a genius for a child and they are exceptionally brilliant and want to start testing, that's up to you and your child. However, there are some things you must consider before having your student take any of these assessment tests. When graduating your child, you must research the assessment tests that your state requires. You must also determine the assessment that your student need to take for the university they are planning on attending, as they may be different from state to state. A great way to alleviate any issues in case your homeschooler changes his or her mind about university choices is to just have them take both assessments. We will discuss the details of these tests in a later video. I will also discuss at that time alternative assessment tests that your elementary or middle schooler can take to allow for familiarity and to better prepare them to be comfortable in testing so that they won't be so anxious and overwhelmed when the time to test in high school arrives. Tip number 3, do you have a template for a transcript? Do you know how to create a professional detailed transcript for your high school homeschooler? Do you know how to divide the course credits into the 4 years of high school? A lot of parents don't. I will walk you through how to create a professional looking detailed transcript that might beat out transcripts of many brick and mortar schools. Did I mention that my son was accepted into a prestigious university using the transcript that I created for him? Guys, this document can be done very easily. So be on the lookout for that video. In addition to the HSLDA information, I have a heartfelt plea for you educators at the end of this video that I really hope you watch and implement into your homeschooling. Tip number 4, do you even know how to calculate the grades on a transcript? Each letter grade is worth a number grade on a transcript. The number grade makes it easier to calculate the GPA, which is a grade point average, and the accumulated GPA in high school. But this is a topic for another day, in which I will screen share a video dedicated to walking you through a simple transcript making process from start to finish. This process can be modified to make report cards for your younger elementary and middle school children. Record keeping is a good idea whether your child intends to further their education or not, just in case the powers that be show up and request it. Either way, record keeping is never a bad idea, as it shows proof of compliance with the home education laws. Tip number 5, have you considered how you are going to help guide your high schooler through the high school years with little ones? Most of us homeschooling educators have multiple children, and most days are quite chaotic. That is until we implement dun, 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 a schedule. Whether you only have one or you have multiple, a schedule will allow for a day that runs mostly smoothly, unless there's a newborn calling all the shots. Without a schedule for each child, as well as a schedule for the entire family group, your school day will feel long, chaotic, and stressful, and it may lead you to quitting. It might be wise to spend some time after watching this video creating or researching creating a schedule, or just wait until my step-by-step video on scheduling comes out. But until then, here's the information I promised. Pause the video and write it down. HSLDA, which stands for the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. Their website is hslda.org. They open Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5 p.m. and their phone number is 540-338-5600. And here is my plea. You will do a disservice to your child or children if you conclude that the bare minimum is good enough. If because the state does not explicitly state that your child needs to take a career and college readiness assessment test, or that Algebra 1 or geometry does not need to be one of the 4 courses of math, that it is satisfactory to allow them to spend 4 years of basic or general math, and that it is okay. Our job as homeschooling educators is to ensure that our children have the best opportunities that is out there. They should be prepared to go into the world and make it known through what they bring to the table, so to speak, that homeschoolers have a lot to offer. If the path we've carved out for them is bare minimum, as we send them out to perform, they will perform bare minimally until another person, group, or establishment guide them to achieve more. It is our job as their educators to not overwhelm our kids with a bunch of busy or endlessly exhaustive work, but to ensure that we are also not developing lazy humans in society. We must find that balance for our families. Life happens, and when it does, we do not want our children to be ill-equipped to handle the transition. If we are forced to send our children into the public, private, or charter school system, do we want them to be classified as advanced or right on track? Or do we want them to be placed back in school facing the embarrassment because we decided to give them less than our best, because the law gave us a slight pass? If you are holding on to the conclusion that my state gives me freedom not to give my child certain subjects or standardized tests, that is your right as a parent educator. Or if you conclude that as the educator, you are free to give grades that your child may not have truly earned, that is your right and that is your conscience. But you will be doing a severe injustice to your child if you do this and force them to be ill-equipped in society. We should be our child's number one advocate and should seek to do what's best for them and their future. If you like what you've heard, consider liking, commenting, or subscribing to get this information into the hands of other struggling educators. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'm homeschooling 6 folks. Bye. blah, 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 blah. Should I do that? Do you, boo?